Let me tell you a true story about Pam, a person who was in trouble on nearly every level of her life. She was stressed out, maxed out, and her juices were tapped out. Then one day, not any special day, Pam began feeling really strange. Not well, not sick, just strange. Later that day, she was dead. What does that mean, to be dead? The first thing she noticed was that her pain and troubles were all gone. She felt renewed. And then she looked down and saw herself on the bed, the gray-green complexioned version of herself. This is when her friends came into the room. They were screaming, crying, and administering CPR. Pam knew at that moment that leaving like this wouldn't give her life the integrity she wanted for it. Once she had that thought, she was back in her body, and everybody around her jumped. It took a long time for Pam to get out of the hospital. By then, she was so totally atrophied, she could barely walk down the block. She kept at it until she could not only walk one block, but two. She lived near the pier in New York. And one spring day, Pam was finally able to walk to the pier. But she didn't know how she was going to walk back. How indeed. Pam had a long ways to go, and learning how to walk was the least of her troubles. She began to scrutinize everything about her life, and I mean everything. Try to imagine what it would be like to put your entire life under a microscope and come face to face with every single decision you make every moment of every day. You look at each piece of food and wonder, is this killing me? You look at every piece of fabric in your home or on your body and wonder, is this killing me? You look at every interaction you have at work, with your family or with your friends, and wonder, is this killing me? Most of all, she had to examine every single thought she was thinking and wonder, is this killing me? She was overwhelmed, terrified. This is a lot of thinking for a dead person to be doing, and this is why she left the city and moved to a small house right on the beach. Pam had liver cancer, she was told. But she wasn't beat. You might think that the logical solution would be to fight back, to take charge of her life and insist on getting well. That's not what she did. Pam took the other road and surrendered. The deepest kind of surrender you can imagine. The kind only a person who had come back from the dead could do. She began periodic juice fasting. She began meditating and developing a daily yoga practice. One thing she did, which she gave most of the credit for her recovery to, was to walk out into the surf so no one could hear her and scream. You heard me. She would scream. Not just for a few seconds, but for long stretches until she had to return to her porch to recoup. Then later in the day, she'd do it again. The screaming felt good in ways she never could explain. A healing kind of good. Lloyd David Newell said, "Everyone's heartache and disappointment is different, but we all have one thing in common, the power to choose our response. We can't choose whether or not we will be hurt, but we can choose whether or not we will heal." Pam chose to heal. What makes this story interesting to me is that she chose screaming as her way of healing. I understand going to the doctor to get well, or even praying to get well. Fasting and drinking health concoctions make sense. But screaming? That is taking the art of healing to a whole new level of craziness. Yet, it works. Why? It has to do with energy manipulation. Roar like a lion and pay attention to when your belly is pushed out. Go ahead. You have my permission to be silly for a moment. We'll do it together. Roar. Do it again. Roar. Doesn't that feel good? When we roar or make any sound, our belly is thrust outward on the exhale. All sound is produced on the exhale. Why does a man yell as he swings the axe to split logs, or as he rushes into battle? Making this sound, which forces the belly outward on the exhale, increases his body energy, giving him the strength and courage to do what he needs to do. That's the conclusion I came to. What about when someone screams when in danger? The same. Energy is needed to face the danger, and making sounds, the louder the better, increases body energy. Energy is also needed to bring about a healing. Screaming is a natural way of accomplishing this. Lloyd David Newell said that we can choose whether or not we will heal, and I agree. He also said that we cannot choose whether or not we will be hurt. This is the part of his statement that I'd like to challenge. I say, and I'm not alone, that we all have a choice whether or not we will be hurt. Each day is a day of decision, and our decisions determine our destiny. I'm not talking about magic here, just a logical result of actions based on our thoughts. If we think in a certain way, we will act in a certain way. The very fabric of our life experiences are based on what we think. This is about taking responsibility for what we think, because what we are doing as we are moving through the variety of our day-to-day experiences is that we are offering thoughts that are literally formulating our future experiences. Let me repeat that. What we are doing as we move through the variety of our day-to-day experiences is that we are offering thoughts that are literally formulating our future experiences. Pam gives us a good example of this. She chose not to die. It wasn't thrust upon her. She chose to move to the beach. She chose periodic juice fasting and a daily meditation and yoga practice, and she chose to walk out into the surf and scream. She even chose to surrender. This is all about her healing. But surely, there are accidents which have nothing to do with choice. She didn't choose to have liver cancer. Or did she? This is an old paradox. I love paradoxes. They unveil opposites and make us wonder how real they are. Do our choices influence our future, or only our reaction after the fact? Let's use pain as an example. As a child, we were taught that pain buys us freedom. We drew on the wall with crayons, and our father spanked us. Thus our sin was paid off. We got a bad grade, and we were grounded, and the account settled. As an adult, we got a speeding ticket and paid a fine. Once again, we were forgiven. Here's the belief in a nutshell. Sin is offset by pain, which leads to freedom. Nothing could be further from the truth. Pain is most apparent in physical illness, which we have been taught is a fact of life. But is it? Or is it so well camouflaged that most of us can't see it for what it really is? You may erroneously think of yourself as a victim of pain instead of its creator and perpetrator. Next time you have a pain, sit quietly and tell the pain that you love it, and see what happens. Yet, at times we can see no conceivable way we could have caused our pain. Let us not jump to conclusions and claim that all of our pain is self-generated. Also, sometimes loving the pain does not result in a healing, but in an opportunity to change our attitude towards it. Personal growth and pain go hand in hand. This world is a schoolroom of pain, and we must learn to transform those experiences for our benefit, to give them a benediction, not a curse. Fear is useless in these times. Trust, however, is paramount. While we are co-creating with our life force, we are also at its mercy and must learn to trust that it is on our side. Dr. Ray said that the fundamental concept behind loving what is to love the pain of what is. Love illuminates our deepest fears and hidden parts. The challenge lies in managing these revelations to foster continuous love rather than retreating into pain. Love is freedom. Pain is the prison of our retreat. One is facing the light and the other is running from it. The full power of this concept is ours when we allow the healing to take place in the same instant as the difficulty. Francis W. Fulks said, "To pray without ceasing, that is, to look continually towards God and His sinless heaven, is to enter into this mind also which sees no error, therefore takes no offense, and has nothing to forgive." You might call this a perpetual state of forgiveness. Over time, you don't even notice the offense. How does this come about? Hayton tells us how. Meditate upon the complete unity of yourself and all that you see. Do this not once, and not simply in present circumstances, but at all times, and especially in difficult circumstances. For insofar as you love and feel at one with those things which are difficult for you, to that extent will those circumstances be alleviated. So, which is it? Are we subject to our life experiences as if we are on a roller coaster without the power to change this inflow of trouble, as Lloyd David Newell stated? Or can we change our destiny with new thoughts, which give rise to new actions, which create a new life, one more in line with our new expectations? The paradox remains intact. Years ago, a young boy was injured in a terrible car accident. He spent weeks in critical condition and was finally beginning to recover when he contracted a life-threatening virus while in the hospital. Later, he was invited to speak in church about his experiences. Although just 12 years old, he offered insight beyond his years on the problem of pain in the world. He said, "Some people have asked me what I did wrong to deserve what happened to me. I'm not perfect, but I'm a good boy, and I know this is not something I deserved. Others have said, you must be a really strong person for God to give you such a difficult trial. I don't feel strong, and anyway, I don't believe God did this as a reward for my being particularly righteous. No, I don't think this happened because I'm particularly bad or good. I believe it happened because I'm mortal, and this is part of the price of mortality. We come to earth. We make our choices, and other people make theirs. Sometimes we hurt each other, and sometimes accidents happen. I will add that each of us follows a different path through life. Are the things that happen to us good or bad? Was the accident and virus the boy passed through good or bad? He certainly experienced growth as a result. Growth is good, but usually comes at a cost. The cost of mortality. Life is not perfect. It comes with problems and difficulties, accidents and heartaches, but also joy, beauty, and love. Along with the bad is a whole lot of good. Misfortune and tragedies are neither punishments nor rewards. They are simply the price we pay for the precious gift of life on earth. So which will it be? Do you agree with this young man's conclusions, or have you come to your own? I will have to agree with Hayton and say that you can heal yourself so thoroughly that you cease to attract difficulties. Screaming is one way to do this. Meditation and prayer is another. Vocalizing your new beliefs is another. Pam's screaming produced energy, which was then used to drive her shadow into the light, where it was integrated back into the realm of conscious thought. She will never get cancer again. Yet, there is always a yet. The paradox stands its ground. Both perspectives are true, even if they appear to be two opposing forces staring each other down from across a chasm. Narayananda said, "Two things that are opposite, when considered equal by the mind, throws the mind into a state of understanding that is beyond comprehension." Balance. That is the actual message of this sermon. Find balance and you will have found God, for God is the sum total of all possibilities. God is every pair of opposites, all of which he considers equal. Those who share this divine perspective are thrown into a state of understanding that is beyond comprehension. Beyond comprehension is the very reason that the logical mind is of no use here. As Devi said it, when no mental operation that makes us say how beautiful it is, how infinite, exists, then there is nothing to limit the experience. In what ways are your thoughts limiting your life experiences? Most people out there will try to convince you that this life with all its ups and downs is normal, and the only thing you can do is accept it. Accept the inevitable downpouring of misfortune. A limited worldview, indeed. Is there no other way? Asked Eve in the Garden of Eden when Satan is offering her the forbidden fruit of the forbidden tree. And his reply was, "There is no other way," as he stretches his hand out, offering the forbidden fruit for her to take. "Then I will partake," Eve says as she takes her first bite. But is that true? Satan is a liar, the story tells us, a liar from the beginning. Our life was never meant to be a life of limitations. It is a life of abundance. It is only our worldview which makes this a world of lack. This worldview is a forbidden fruit. Let us cast the fruit aside and pick a new kind of fruit from the tree of life. Let me offer you some of that other fruit, the magical fruit. I will begin by telling you a truth that you may have overlooked. You are a grand cosmic being. You are a creator. You create your reality with your thoughts. Quantum physicists will say the observer determines the outcome of the experiment. Metaphysicists will say energy follows thought, and what you think, you bring into manifestation. In this new worldview, you, as a creator, have the power to create whatever you desire, when and if you choose to use your mind consciously and intentionally. Let's talk about what is real. An ordinary person looks upon a physical object and believes it to be real because his physical senses tell him it is real. Your physical senses will tell you that what you can see, feel, hear, and touch is solid. This is because your physical senses perceive specific frequencies of energy as solid. I am here to tell you that this is an illusion. I feel a connection to all the other dimensions at all times. What we see is not all there is. When you die, this will become obvious, but you're not dead. Not yet. My brother is a physicist. I try not to contradict his worldview. He doesn't take it well. I casually asked him if a rock gave off vibrations while just sitting in your hand. He said no, not unless some mechanical device was vibrating it. I dropped the topic, but I feel the rock vibrate because I am aware of its life force. I'm aware of a part of this physical world that my brother is unaware of. Subtle energy is real. I see it and feel it all around me. Medical science, even as practiced today, is still based on the worldview which goes back about 300 years. It is the worldview of classical Newtonian physics, which looks upon the universe and the human body as consisting of separate parts, solid objects, which are just part of the machinery. We even use the metaphor of computer hardware and software to describe the workings of the subconscious mind. But there is one major difference between computers and the subconscious mind. Computers don't have feelings, desires, and fears. The subconscious, on the other hand, is a realm of emotions, especially love. A couple of centuries ago, Descartes made a contribution to philosophy and science by suggesting that mind and body are entirely separate and have nothing to do with each other. Incredible as it may be, our modern medical science still firmly holds to this worldview. What I am saying is that everything is conscious. Everything has a soul. Every soul has a soul. God has a soul. We are not separate. That is the other part of this equation. Everything is interpenetrated by everything else. Our bodies are not made up of separate parts like a car. The parts are in unity. It is true that they all have their own consciousness. You can talk to your stomach, for instance, but every part of you is connected with every other part through the medium of consciousness. The same is true of the world at large. We are all parts of a greater world, a sea of consciousness, in which we are all floating. Let's rephrase this and say that we are floating in a sea of loving presence. That would explain how magic works and why God is magical. Which God? All of them, for they are the gods of love. Fear is that which creates obstacles and roadblocks. Love is that which opens the way. The gods are waymakers. If you accept this limited worldview of classical physics, which only applies to four-dimensional objects, 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time, a great many things which you could otherwise accomplish with magic through the power of your mind will be simply impossible to accomplish. Why? Because this outdated worldview will influence your belief system, your expectations, and what you will allow yourself to experience. Magic occurs first beyond the normal worldview of classical physics, and then appears in this world as a projection of that other world. That which is real is inside of you, and that which is outside of you is only a projection of your inner world. Only a projection, an illusion. You are not a robot. You are not an apple falling down from a tree. You are not a ping-pong ball. You are much more. Not only are you a multidimensional being, but you have the power and the ability to act from a higher dimension, from a dimension of your mind, from a dimension of your consciousness, and create changes in your physical reality. You are the one who chooses from which dimension you want to live your daily life. It only takes one little shift in consciousness, one little shift in perception, to find yourself traveling along the highway of the future, a future that is beyond your wildest imaginings.